speakers, but I want to make sure that they are addressing your motion and everyone understands the motion before us.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. This is before us on a recommendation from the Zoning Commission with regard to the ordinance which would put in place standards for construction of boat docks on Lake Worth. I believe that there should be some amendments made. I asked the staff to advise all of the neighbors and neighborhood associations last week, and I think that was done. And I'm proposing to amend several aspects of it. I think everybody has seen copies of those changes that I'm going to propose. I would shoreline frontage I would change from up to 80 feet to up to 100 feet. The maximum square feet structure would be 1,000 square feet. If it's 101 feet or more, then the structure's maximum size would be determined by the linear feet of the shoreline times 10 rather than 15, not to exceed 1,600 square feet. These figures of both 10 and 1,600 were contained in one of the earlier proposals in the iteration of this matter. I'm also proposing that the maximum length of the sidewall permitted from the top of the sidewall down would be 2 feet instead of 4 feet in both instances. So those are the changes that I think those are the ones that people want to address this evening.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. I'm sorry.
Mr. Mayor, probably if I may elaborate a little bit more, and let me tell you why I want to do this. I've gotten a number of emails and letters and telephone calls since last week when I indicated I was going to make this motion. And a lot of those asked what my reasoning was, what my logic was for suggesting a change in the action taken by the Zoning Commission. So to elaborate on what you've already said, Mayor, I would like to explain that a little further before the speakers come up. As has already been said, the question here is the size of boat docks that can be put on the surface of the lake. What we have here are private landowners along the shore who want to build boat docks so they can have boat dock access onto the lake from their property and back to their property. And I think everyone is in favor of that access. I think all the deeds by which people hold these property rights or leases by which they hold leasehold rights assure them they will have certain rights to put boat docks. The question here is how big or how small should the boat dock be? And quite obviously, the larger a boat dock is, the more public property is being converted over to private use. And in this case, it would be exclusive use, except for the ability to throw a fishing pole, I guess, underneath the dock. So I think what we have here is the question of a balancing of the public rights versus the private rights. Believe me, I understand if I own some shoreline property, I'd like to build whatever I want there in terms of a boat dock, as big or small as I might like to do to accommodate whatever boat I might have or think I can afford. But we've got to balance that against the public rights here, and that's what I'm trying to do in doing this. I commend everyone who has worked for 2 years on this project to come to some conclusion. There's been a lot of time and a lot of effort put into it. But I just think, as a matter of fact, that we ought to be conservative as a council when we come to the point where we're giving a public right use for private use, which is what we're talking about here. In talking with the staff on this matter and reviewing and being at some of these public meetings that were held, it's quite obvious that there are already a number of boat docks on Lake Worth. I think it's over 300 and some boat docks out there. And it turns out that 96% of the boat docks that are there that are already constructed on the lake are 1,600 square feet or less. So that means that you only have a small handful that are greater, even currently out there, than 1,600 square feet. Those that are already built in excess of 1,600 feet would be grandfathered. There would be no requirement they be removed. They would be maintained. You can continue to maintain them, and as long as they were not enlarged, they would still stay at the same size. What this ordinance also proposes is, if somebody does wish to construct a dock in excess of 1,600 square feet, or whatever this council may approve, that can be presented to the Residential Board of Appeals, the Board of Adjustment. And that board would then have the opportunity to review the facts of that particular case, the size of the lot involved, why somebody might want a boat dock larger than 1,600 square feet, and what the reasons for it were. It would also allow an opportunity for neighbors who maybe had some concerns about a boat dock larger than that to be able to appear and talk and discuss the matter. So I think that's the more proper way to handle it. I would suspect that whatever boat size we end up with, that the appeals to the Board of Appeals for exceptions in larger boat docks would probably be very far and few between over the coming years. So that's where my reasoning is coming from. I am not, as was suggested in some of the emails, attacking the landowners or attacking the landowners' rights. The staff has not been attacking the landowners or the landowners' rights. It has not been a plot or conspiracy against the landowners or the landowners' rights or property values. It is a question of trying to balance the property values of the public, which owns the lake, and the private landowners who are on the edge of the lake. So with that long-winded explanation, let's hear from you.
Here tonight.
Yes, and I appreciate the comments from everyone who've been here. I've heard a lot of comments about shoreline owners and what the majority want or what the majority don't want, who represents the shoreline owners, who doesn't represent the shoreline owners. And I understand that. But let me say one more time, this is not simply an issue of the shoreline property owners deciding how big their boat docks could be. That is because, and I'm repeating myself, that is because when you build a boat dock, you're building it on public property. So it's of great concern to the city, and should be, because we have, as elected officials, I have as an elected official, not only the duty to represent all of you who live on the lake, but all of the citizens who live in District 7, some 80,000 of them. I have the duty to represent all the citizens of Fort Worth. And so there's nobody down here tonight to speak for those people who don't own shoreline property. So that's why I'm speaking up for them, because I think that's part of my duty and something that I need to look at in this case. I've heard the comment that
Just a moment. Ladies and gentlemen, the council member is trying to address all of us. He extended you courtesy. I expect you to extend him the same. That's fair. Continue, Mr. Burdette.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've heard the comments that there are easements here, and the more we restrict the size of the boat dock, the more rights we're taking away from the shoreline property owner. If that were the case, then I guess the argument could well be made that the shoreline property owner with an easement has the right to build a boat dock 2,000 yards out into the lake, or 5,000 yards, or however far he wants to build it. And I don't think any rational person believes that's the case, or that's what the easement means. One reason for doing this ordinance is because that easement is undefined, and because these rights are undefined, so we're trying to make them defined. We're trying to do it in a reasonable way to represent the rights of the shoreline owners, as well as to represent the interest of all other people in the city and the city itself. I say again, I think it's important in this case for the city to be cautious and conservative in how much city property can be taken for the purpose of serving the property values of somebody's private land. And when it comes down to it, that's what we're talking about. So I'm going to do this. I heard some things that I thought make a little sense here tonight. I'm going to amend my motion. I'm going to move that the maximum square footage be kept at 1,600 feet with the right to seek an exception from the Board of Appeals. I'm going to suggest that the measurement by shoreline be multiplied by a factor of 15, not 10. 15 as originally was in the Zoning Commission's proposal. And I'm also going to recommend that the sidewall be, instead of 2 feet, be the 4 feet that was recommended by the Zoning Commission. Now, I know that's not going to satisfy everybody, but when I look at the facts that we have virtually no docks on the lake today that are in excess of 1,600 feet, the staff has gone out and checked all the lakes in this area, in the North Texas area, and have not found any that allow boat docks in excess of 1,600 feet. It just seems to me that 1,600 feet is a fair and reasonable